Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by my good friend and MBE, Johnny Nelson. Johnny, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you, Danny. I'm good, man. I'm all good. We're all good.
I'm glad you blurred the background because you just had a swig of water there, and we don't want to advertise any particular companies here at Seconds Out
Yeah,
until they
yeah,
start
that's right.
sponsoring
That's
us.
right.
So.
Other water's available.
Well, yeah, exactly. How's everything going, Johnny?
It's all right. All right. It's nice. We're just setting up a few things. I saw the big news about Chris doing a deal with with Boxer and Sky, which is good. So obviously they have plans. I know there was whispers about the Canelo fight. You don't know what's going on down the line. So we'll just wait and see how it transpires.
Yeah, as you referred to there, news broke in the early hours of this morning that Boxer had signed a multi-fight contract with Chris Eubank Jr., who until this morning had been the hottest free agent, certainly in the UK boxing scene. How big a deal do you feel this is for Boxer and Ben Shalom?
It's all about the plans. What are the plans? What is the deal? What is the there has to be a game plan. It's no point having a big signing if you've not got a path to set an intention. So we can all speculate. We've just got to wait to see what it entails, what it's about, what the plans are.
And it brings him back onto Sky Sports, where we've been used to seeing him via Wasserman over the past couple of years anyway. Does it kind of underline the fact that Eubank, as most people feel, is a TV attraction? He's never been a huge ticket seller in the venue necessarily, but a real big TV attraction and a big name.
It is, and most fighters, if they're honest, and even the promoters, if they're honest, they know the biggest platform, the best platform to be on for to be aired, to be seen. This guy, and so it's a good business move, and I'm probably not might not go down well with others, but it is for his if he notoriety wants to get out there, wants people to see him. That's where that's where he needs to be. So it's show business, and he's just made a move that works for him.
What's a bigger kind of achievement for Boxer as a promotional company? Signing an established draw in Chris Eubank Jr. or retaining Ben Whitaker if and when his contract comes up for renewal?
To me, I think it's about retaining somebody like a Ben Whitaker because you're gonna have to, Chris. He's a name, he's a draw, but he's at a certain stage in his career, and so therefore that career is going to end at some point sooner um, than likes of Ben Whitaker, God willing, if nobody's injured or anything like that. So to me, I think it's important to nurture the fighters like Ben, potential stars like Ben coming through, to build them into the big stars. That's why they're big stars. They're being built. The public can follow them. The public can get carried away with the story, the dramas, the ups and downs. So there's no point in having the star attraction if you've got no grassroots coming up behind you. So which one I think is most important? I think it's very important that you take care of the grassroots coming through and nurture them and make your own and keep that table going, keep that gravy train rolling.
And you mentioned there that there are rumours that Chris Eubank Jr. could be opposing Canelo in September, which would be a huge step up in class. And that's no disrespect to, I guess, Liam Smith was his last fight. And Liam's been in with Canelo himself. But big step up for Eubank Jr. if that comes off. How do you kind of weigh that fight up?
As a fighter, you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe that you can make a difference. You've got to believe that uh, being put in that position, you're going to win. I can remember, initially when his dad was involved with him, he was shouting from the rooftops about getting him with Galadi Golovkin. But that was just word association, getting his son mentioned in the same sentence, and got people boo-hooing, got people encouraging. Is this the same? I think it's something of the sorts. I think how real it is, we don't know. You've got to look at the draw is Canelo, so you've got to look at it from Canelo's point of view. How beneficial is that to him? And even if no matter how exciting the fight is or isn't, no matter how much in demand we want that fight, Canelo has far bigger fish to fry in his career at this stage of his career. So he'll be looking what suits him. He'll be looking at what kind of opponents suit him, and it's a if he thinks the numbers add up and Chris is that draw, then so be it. So we're probably looking at it from Chris's point of view, where he's actually not in the driving seat. Canelo's in the driving seat. That's how you want to look at it.
Now, we started with some good news, which is a rarity, I think, in boxing sometimes. But this is the first chance I've had to speak with you since the latest scandal, drama, whatever you want to call it, surrounding Ryan Garcia. And of course, this time he was rightly castigated by a number of people, including the WBC, for making racist remarks, both verbally on a Twitter space and in tweets later on, which I think have since been deleted. There has since been an apology. I'm not sure how seriously we should take that apology, but still several erratic tweets since, just albeit not of a racist nature this time. What did you make of the whole situation when the news broke?
Now, this young man, you don't know if you're being double bluffed or you're just seeing it unfold in front of your very own eyes. His behaviour, the things he's said and done, have been questionable, pretty erratic, pretty unbalanced. And again, if this is business, he's trying to keep himself in the headlines. Sometimes you might have gone a little too far. Well, he hasn't. He's gone too far with that. Yeah, we're still talking about this banned fighter, but not for the right reasons, and for the wrong reasons. So if this is his ploy to stay relevant on the tip of our tongues whilst he's going through his ban, this is something that's going to backfire because when you that kind of behavior, that kind of rhetoric, to me, it sticks with you forever and a day. It sticks with you forever. I can remember the likes of Alan Minter and Bernard Hopkins saying things that are stuck with them for the rest of their career, and it changes people's opinions of you, and you lose a lot of respect from people in and out of the industry.
He's already been suspended for a year for the drug issues with Osterine. Do you think he should face further punishment for these latest remarks?
From boxing, well, at the end of the day, I think the governing bodies have expressed how they're disappointed in him, but in reality, what's he got to do with boxing? In reality, the governing bodies, their job is to put fights on, put championship fights on. It's supposed to be the best fighter fights the best, or number one fights number two. That's their job. What happens outside of that in the civil situation, they can only have an opinion. But in reality, if you're going to let historically things slip in the past, you can rap the knuckles and show your disapproval. But in reality, what can they do?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people had sympathy for Garcia around the mental health struggles. He took a long break from boxing. He was quite open about it for those reasons. Then he's failed drug tests, 3 separate drug tests for Osterine. And I think a lot of that sympathy then ebbs away. These latest comments, how challenging do you find it to still find a level of compassion and understanding for Garcia?
I struggle to find understanding all the way through. I've struggled to find understanding, and I'm plucking at thin air, saying, "Well, maybe he's done it because he's trying to bluff everybody to think that he's away with affairs. He doesn't know what's happening." But now you're at the case where you think there's no excuse. You just got to watch these things unfold. I don't know this young man personally. I don't know what his circle he's in. I don't know what's going on in his life. I don't know what's triggered his behavior and the things he says. I don't know. All I can do is comment like everybody else and watch from afar. Do I have sympathy for the things he's saying? No. Do I have an opinion? Yeah. I have a personal opinion and this platform opinion. And on this platform, you just think, you know what? Yeah, your actions, will say more than you ever will, and so therefore, how the public are with you is unfortunately for you, that's where you suffer the consequences.
Yeah, Completely agree. Let's move on back to more positive ground. We'll talk about Joshua against Dubois momentarily, but just to ask you, as someone who works with Sky Sports and Boxer predominantly, how satisfied, happy are you that Boxer now have a real involvement in the show in September with Buatsi and Tyler Denny? It's the first time we've seen kind of Frank and Eddie open things out a little bit more.
Well, the whole point of, in my opinion, the whole point of what's happening out in Saudi and Turkey, obviously getting the promoters and banging their heads together, saying you guys work together. It's not just about Eddie and Frank. Now, Eddie and Frank might be the front puppets, but they're not the ticket master. They're not the one that's pulling the strings. So they're basically, it wasn't up to them, whether or not they could try as much as possible to put shoulders together to stop anybody else from getting through. But it's not up to them. And what Turkey's doing, I just think, if he wants boxing to make a massive difference, it can't just be about two big rival promoters. You've got to go with what you're going with. Everybody gets involved. I'm quite sure Eddie and I'm quite sure Frank are not happy that Ben's got his foot in the door. I'm quite sure they'd be more comfortable if it was just those two. But this is, it's not their show. They are put in a position where, and it's a very lucrative position for all the promoters and their fighters, and they've got to play ball as much as they possibly can. And I'm quite sure, one will always try and trip up the other. That's the business of being a promoter. Ben's got his foot in the door, and Sky, again, Sky's involvement. Again, I'll keep repeating. You look at Sky, and Sky, if you want the eyes on the prize, in my opinion, Sky's the biggest platform out there, and I think what's happening in Saudi, they understand it as well. So that's why they're saying, look, everybody, get around the table. You've got to work together. You're better off being in than out.
Now, on Joshua Dubois specifically, there were some comments on TalkSport this week from the hosts and from Frank Warren. We'll kind of talk about them in turn. But Simon Jordan raised an interesting point. Maybe the first time I've ever said that. Just joking, Simon, if you are a SecondsOut fan. But yeah, he said that he believes the first time that Daniel Dubois lands cleanly and powerfully on Anthony Joshua, Joshua will experience something akin to PTSD from the tough fight he had with Andy Ruiz all that time ago. He's basically said Joshua's got used to not being hit back by his recent opposition. And I wanted to ask you, as a fighter, you only were ever stopped once in your entire career, and even that was very controversial against Norbert Akassi way back in '92. But did it have any psychological impact on you in the future, getting stopped for that first time? And as it turned out,
No. And Simon's saying it from a layman's point of view. He's never put the gloves on. He's never been in the ring. So it's an opinion. He has an opinion like most people do. And it might be a bit sharper and might be a bit knowledgeable than most. The thing is this, for that situation, especially in the heavyweight situation, if one heavyweight hits another clean on the chin, they're going down. And if they're not going down, they're going to get damaged. And so what Simon said isn't wrong, but it's how it's been delivered. And so it basically makes out as though if AJ gets hit on the chin, it's over. Of course, and vice versa. It's a case of who's sharp enough, who's smart enough, who gets it in there first. It's heavyweight boxing. We saw Lennox Lewis get knocked out and then come back and avenge that. It's heavyweight boxing. Most heavyweights can knock out most heavyweights. So that's what's going to happen. So the job is to try and not get hit cleanly by your opponent. That's the whole point. So I understand what Simon's saying, but I just think, that's fine. That's just how it is. That is boxing, and I'm quite sure, AJ's been tagged before in sparring, and it's a case of how you deal with it. And once it's happened once, it's like falling off a horse or falling off a bike. Once you fall off, you think, I'm all right here. All right, back on again. So would it revert back to think, oh my goodness, I'm falling apart? No, because it's happened to him before. I'd expect the reaction to be very different, the panic to be very different. But it's heavyweight boxing.
Did it have any impact on you when it happened? Because I watched it back not long ago, and yeah, I mean, first of all, it seemed like it was a punch to the back of the head,
Yeah, it
and
was.
second of all, it seemed very much like you were all right to continue, and the referee was a bit quick to wave it off. You were on foreign ground, as
Yeah,
you so often were.
I
But
think it
did
was
it have
eight.
any impact?
I think it was eight. He was 8 before I even hit the ground. Um, did it have any impact? Of course, you can ask yourself questions. Am I chinny? Can I take a shot? For those boys. For me, it was on the back of the head. And I'm like, all right. Did I ever think I was chinny? No. Did I realize, what I can be put down? Yeah. One thing I do say is that I had a solid chin in my sport, so I believed in my chin. So that question, when I asked myself, am I chinny? I know I can take a shot. I know I could take a shot. AJ and then all the heavyweights, not just AJ. If you're in heavyweight boxing and you get hit on the chin, clean by another heavyweight, even the greatest Ali was put down by Fraser. Historically, that's how it is in heavyweight boxing. Mentally, how does it affect you? You just tighten up your guard. You try and make sure it doesn't happen again. But will it create ghosts? No, I don't think so. You just know it can happen. As I said, once it happens once, you think, I can take that shot. Let's have some of that. But I'm going to make sure I get hit as little as possible.
And another comment that came up, this was when Frank Warren was on there as a guest. I think I'll speak to Frank later today, so I'll ask him about it as well. But he said that he feels Filip Hrgović, who Daniel Dubois beat in his most recent fight, is a better boxer than Anthony Joshua. I'm guessing he means technically. What do you make of that?
I think Frank Warren's being a promoter. Promoters will have to create a spin and chat whatever shit they can to promote their fighter, to elevate their fighter. Frank's doing his job. And in saying that, do you believe that? Do I believe it? No, I don't think he really believes it. He's just doing his job. Remember, you're saying this to the guy that said, Tony Bellew is technically better than Alexander Usyk, and that's my opinion. That's how I saw it because I'm a fighter. I know what I'm talking about. For a promoter to say that, he's saying it from a promoter's point of view. It's a layman's point of view. He's doing his job.
Could Hrgović be a better technical boxer than AJ, but just not a better fighter all round?
No, he's not. He's not a better boxer than AJ. If he was, he'd have been world champion by now. He'd have been up there by now. He's a good, solid fighter. You look at where he is in his career, what he's achieved. If he was the better fighter, he'd be above AJ. It's that simple. He wouldn't have been boxing Dubois. He would have been there a long time ago. Hrgović, and I'd seen him on a couple of occasions. Tough. He's got good comeback ability. But then what happens is he switches off mid-fight. So it's not just about letting the shots go, it's the whole package. So that's technique. It's the whole package. You can't switch off. You switch off and you might have all the ability in the world, but you've not got the belief. You might have all the ability in the world, but you've not got the fitness. You might have all the ability in the world, but you just don't know how you're doing it. So in reality, it doesn't. No, he's talking from a layman's point of view. Common sense is you look at the facts. Where is he? Where is he in his career? And are you trying to say that because to elevate your fight? Yeah, you are. I don't believe what Frank's saying in that situation, but he's doing his job being a promoter.
Now, something I meant to ask you when we were talking about Ryan Garcia, so we'll come back to that momentarily. A lot of criticism has been leveled at the people around him, his managers, his trainer, his promoters, for not looking after him, guiding him better. You obviously associated with one of the best mentors we've seen in UK boxing in Brendan Ingle. How do you think he would have dealt with someone like Ryan Garcia?
Ryan Garcia clearly, in my opinion, he didn't have the right people around him in his ear to settle him. to harness him, to get the best out of him for himself. And it's not just about being a fighter; it's about being an adult, a human being outside of the ring. How you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself. It might be a game plan, and he wants to play the biggest pantomime villain in the world. That might be the game plan. But from the things you're seeing and things you're doing, unfortunately, I see out in America, there's a lot of hustlers out there. There's a lot of people saying they can do the job and they're X, Y, Z. They ain't very good. You know, they're on a great hustle. There are very, very, very few Brendans left in this world that truly know our sport. And our sport isn't just about getting you in the gym, making you X amount of rounds on it. It's about teaching you, teaching the sport, teaching you through the sport, teaching you how it's a transferable skill. And so therefore it affects how you carry yourself as a fighter and how you think about other fighters. So I don't believe he's had anybody that's worth his salt in his ear to help him, to guide him, to advise him. I just don't.
That's a real shame. We'll obviously, I imagine, be talking about Ryan Garcia again in future interviews. But on the subject of helping people, a neat little segue there. Give us an update on the Johnny Nelson Foundation. What is going on?
Yeah, the whole point of the foundation was to let people know, you know, just how you can. If I'm going to use a foundation for you to say, you know what, Johnny, foundation's there, help somebody. It was just to let people know it's there, it's available, and so we can distribute as much as we can. So we do little things to try and promote it. We do little things to try and let people know it's there, and it's just down to the whole point of the foundation is. I always found when I was a fighter coming through, nobody wanted to help you when you didn't have the money. And so therefore, you know, you're always on the blind, always on the hustle. And so foundations are basically there to say, you know what, this is what we're doing. If we can attract you to come to us and we'll distribute it, that's what we'll do. And that's what the foundation's about. That's the flagship. It's about helping others. And that's to me, that was the whole point of creating it.
Would it have had a big impact on you in your fighting days if something like that was around?
I had Brendan. Brendan was the best hustler going. He got me sponsored left, right, and centre. But as I said, there's no Brendans left in this world. So something like this, yeah, it would, without a doubt. But you know what? Times have changed, opinions have changed, people's views on life and others have changed. So yeah, but it would have helped me massively.
Just on that, before I let you go, you said there's no Brendans left in this world, and he certainly was one of a kind. I was lucky enough to meet him a few times. Have you never considered going into that area of the sport, the training, managing, mentoring side? I mean, obviously you're great at what you do, but did you ever consider it?
I do advise, I do mentor, but to train and manage like Brendan did, I'll not do it because unless I can do it and give it the commitment that Brendan did, as far as I'm concerned, I'll be cheating the fighter. So I know I can do it, but unless I can give the time that's needed, and then I'm shortchanging the people I'm working with. I could hustle my way in and nick a bit of money, nick a bit here and nick a bit there. But to me, you know, unfortunately, there's too many people in that sport doing that. They're hustling a living out of the sport on the back and the experiences, you know, the losses and the hard times of fighters that they need someone that's there for them to advise them. So when I see fighters around and I see like your Garcias, like your Furies, and you see stuff that's going on, you think, oh my God, you know what? Even AJ, you think, you know what? You need someone in here. You need somebody to just put your feet back on the ground and say, come on, let's guide this right. But unfortunately, these people are surrounded by people that are getting paid handsomely. So therefore, they're not going to do the job what they're actually there for. Brendan always said, don't make money your God. And in doing that, that's why he was very comfortable being who he was. And I'm quite sure, you know what, in this day and age, he might even got cancelled with it, the sort of language he used, but he got results and he made boys and girls into men and women into adults. And they're good people even away from our sport.
And just on Brendan, before, final question here, but we saw Prince Nassim Hamid, your former stablemate, now back on the scene with his sons, Adam, professional boxer, and you've got Sammy on the misfit scene. Is it boxing a better, brighter, more colourful place for having Nassim's involvement once again?
I think Naz has always been and always will be TV gold whenever he opens his mouth. And he is, and that's what I will say about him. I think, but it depends on how involved he wants to get. I think he'd be a good pundit, but he don't want to do that. He don't want to do it on anybody else's terms apart from his own. But he actually, and he's one of the few fighters that is in a position to call it out. You know, and unfortunately, in our game, you'll get people that have never been world champions, that haven't had the kudos, haven't had the top level pedigree, telling everybody else what a fighter should do. And some fighters, you know, they make better coaches, they make better, better viewing from the outside in, but you need fighters that have got the pedigree. You need fighters that have been there at the top. You need fighters that know what it's like at that top level to do that job. I think Naz is well equipped for it, but I also think that Naz, his commitment to do it is very, very small. And so you might pop up now and again or do it for his son, but in reality, yeah, I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised and I'd stuck around and to do that on a regular basis.
Brilliant. Johnny, really appreciate you as always. People watching, please do leave your likes, comments, subscribe. Questions for Johnny, maybe we'll put them to him next time. But yeah,
bring him on, man. Bring him on anytime.
Brilliant. Thanks, Johnny. Take care, mate.
Nice one. See you.
Have a good one.